into the gallery view. You can feel free to go back into the gallery view. I'm in Spotlight. Hi, welcome everybody. I'm so delighted to welcome you to this live event. We're going to have a blast today. So do me a favor. We have a huge global audience. So tell me, where are you? Some of you already know our favorite ritual. Where are you in the world? Put that in the chat. And if this is your first time, anybody here, this is your first event, first thing with MEA? Yes, Diane, Pauline, Donna, well, welcome everybody. Great, wonderful to have you here. We love to have fun in these live events. This is not going to be a boring webinar. You are not going to see any slides at all. We are here to explore the beauty of midlife and longevity. We're here to reframe your thinking with some really fantastic thought leaders from totally different areas of the field, all of whom are teaching at our MEA campus, some of whom have been in our online programs. And I love putting these together. It's such a great way to bring together our alumni, folks who are here learning about what is the Midlife Wisdom School, what the heck is this place, and for you to meet some of our guest faculty up front and personal. So we're going to have some time together with our three guests today, and you're going to have a chance also to ask questions and come up on stage if you'd like, about halfway through, and I'll tell you when. And when I do that, you're going to get to raise your hand. And the way you do that, if you've not been on Zoom in an interactive way, is down at the bottom of your screen, there's a react button where there's these super fun effects and emojis. Go ahead and hit one if you want to, because it's so fun to play with. Emojis are great. And below the emoji is the raise your hand thing. So when it comes time, you will punch that to come on up on stage. All right, so now that we've gotten all that taken care of, and we'll keep you on mute, of course, until you are going to ask a question. All right, so I'm going to just kind of highlight our three panelists that are here for today and give you a little background about everybody, and then we're going to just do one at a time. So first, so excited to introduce Tim Parr, CEO and founder of Caddis Eyewear, that challenges ageist stereotypes. I love the brand has coined the term that age is awesome, which is also the name of your week. So thank you for being here with us, Tim.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I have Lisa Taylor here with us from Toronto, Canada, where it's freezing. So she is here. She's a career development expert and founder and CEO of Challenge Factory, which is a B Corp. Congratulations. Dedicated to supporting career fulfillment for older workers. And she's going to talk a little bit about why we need better policies for working and why being older is a revolutionary time to be in the workforce. So super excited to have you here. And many of you may recognize who've been with us before, the GOAT Barbara Waxman, who has been with us from really the very beginning of MEA. She is a formidable thought leader, renowned gerontologist, longevity expert with 40 years of experience in the science of aging. She was in this before anybody knew anything about this. Wrote a book called the Middlescence Manifesto, coined the term middlescence that MEA loves to use. And so much of Barbara's deep thinking has informed the content that we teach at MEA. So, and Barb had some brand new stuff that she's been working on that she's going to bring today. So thank you, Barb, for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So Tim, let's start with you. I had the great pleasure of getting to meet you in person down in Baja. And I'm a huge fan of Caddis Eyewear, which I didn't know anything about till I got down to Mexico. And I told Tim my favorite pair just broke. Hiking, so annoying. But I'm going to tell a little story that I confronted ageism through eyewear at age 49. So anybody in the chat, did anyone in the chat here ever have a milestone birthday that totally freaked you out or set you back or was an issue for you? If so, what was that milestone birthday that you struggled with? For me, it was 49. I did not want to be turning 50. I kept saying all year, oh my God, I'm almost 50. And I had all these issues with it. One of the things was I had to get glasses. And I kept saying to my kids, like, what does that sign say? Can you read that? They're like, Mom, you need glasses. And I was really offended that I needed glasses. And it gave me this insight that there was something going on in my thinking that was really ageism. So I wanted to bring that to you, Tim. You and I spoke, like, you had a very different reaction to needing glasses, but I feel like the work that you're doing with Caddis, I was certainly not the only person that had to confront my own inner ageism, that I was freaked out about aging for no particular reason, except society said somehow that was going to be a bad thing. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of thoughts about that. I mean, let's go back to your experience. I didn't have it, and just out of pure ignorance, like I just never even considered it. So there's something about being blissfully ignorant that I find appealing. And like the company didn't have this age platform until I had a 4 or 5 samples product. I had packaging. Bottom of the packaging said something about aging. And this one venture capitalist that I was sitting across from, she said, "You can't do this. Everyone wants to know, or everyone wants to believe that they're 15 years younger than they are. Like that's the general belief." And meeting was over. It was like my 50th try to raise money. Terrible at raising money. As I'm walking down the stairs, this is in San Francisco, I hit the sidewalk, and I don't believe in aha moments. It was the biggest aha moment of what business that we are in. Like we are not in the eyewear business, we're in the age business. And this was 7, 8, maybe 9 years ago. And going back to your point, I was born and raised in California. I don't know what you call it, action sports culture. And we don't, the age thing doesn't enter our vocabulary. So literally running down the street, getting on the phone, calling up my partners saying, "Stop everything. This is the business that we're in."
Wow.
And it changed everything. And then came, the phone calls from Katie Couric and from Gwyneth Paltrow and the rest of them, like, "What are you doing and how can we help?" So it had to do with like a very strong why. And these are all the things that I want to just share with people for the week, is like how, if you just let these things happen and you recognize them and you grab them when they happen, when they happen, you can just make lemonade out of lemons. And it's there's just hundreds of these kind of situations and stories, and that kind of can motivate people to create some type of change if they ever wanted one in their professional
Mm.
career or life in general. That was
I
kind of
have
one
to
thing that I had.
say, I love the fact that you have a butterfly behind you, Tim, because that is one of the biggest metaphors that we teach at MEA. We talk about transitions in life as sort of
Mm-hmm.
being like this metaphor of a caterpillar to a chrysalis to a butterfly. And look at you right
Yeah.
there. That is just
Hey,
fantastic.
so there's another. So when I sold a business and was wandering the earth semi-responsibly, I started a bluegrass band because I thought, like, well, why not? And I wasn't even a musician. So I grinded away at learning how to play guitar, started a band, and toured the Western United States. This poster is Liz Lambert's from Austin, Texas, the festival that she has. And it was the first time that we played her festival. So it's like one of these milestones in my music career that I was proud of. And that's funny. That's because it just sits behind me.
I love that. So maybe you can share a little bit more about, it sounds like you sort of intuitively have recognized that there's these moments that come along. I've been using a term glimmer, like a glimmer comes
Yeah.
along, something synchronistic, unexpected that pulls at you. And if you have the courage to jump on top of that, that's what's going to propel you forward in life. If you could share, is that one of your kind of principles or kind of way that you see helping others move into aging as something as awesome? Because we certainly know the way we think about aging will impact our health, it'll impact our
Totally.
relationships, impact everything.
Totally. Um, so I refer to it, or I've recognized it as pattern recognition. So I've started businesses since I was in my mid 20s. So I have pattern recognition of what I don't even know what it is, but I just recognize dots and I recognize the line that could possibly connect the dots. And some dots are better than others. And like those are the kind of things that I want to share with people. The one word you said that, no offense to you, Carrie, but that I hate is the courage word. Cause like this is not like a courageous thing. Like
Great.
you
Let's
should
talk
not
about
use,
that. Let's take courage and throw it out. And what should we replace it with? I'm all
I,
about better language.
I hate it. Yeah, change the language, change the behavior, right?
Right.
So I get asked a lot about people in our general age group of like, man, you must be really brave. Like you've started companies your entire life. I'm like, no, I'm scared to death, which is why I start my own companies my whole entire life. It's like I want to have some type of control over my future. And it's not a matter of being brave or like, or it's not risk taking. To me, it's the absolute opposite. And it's not because I have uh, some special talent. It's not. I think anybody can do this. You just have to change a mindset. And we touched about it earlier, like the growth mindset, which I find really important. You just have to be able to feel comfortable of asking 1,000 questions, and take notes. And we all have a history and we all have experiences, and they're all completely different. So when you think about, and this is why I want to have this week. It's the number one question I get asked is about like, I've had this idea and I've always wanted to do like fill in the blank. And it's frustrating because I just want to like sit there and just say, okay, like this is how you do it. Like, let's go. Like it's gonna be like boom, the boom, the boom, the boom, the boom, and then 5 steps backwards, and then we're gonna go 10 steps forward, and it's gonna get ugly and it's gonna be scary, and that's how it should be. Comfort kills. So I think there's going to be just a lot of fun reframing of how we look at things and how we feel about things.
Love it. Thank you. That is a perfect segue to bring up Lisa. So I'm going to bring you back up, Tim, in a few minutes. That was great. Thank you so much. So
Thanks.
Lisa, come on up here and join me on stage. It's such a pleasure to have you. And hearing Tim as a sort of serial entrepreneur with this mindset of just jump in, yes, it's scary, do it anyway, courage kills. Your background, really is understanding the world of work and the workforce. And I know you've talked about, that there's a talent revolution happening and it's being led by the older worker. So tell us a little bit about how what you just heard Tim share kind of fits into what you've seen at a much broader level.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And it's so exciting to be here and exciting to see such familiar names actually also coming up in some of the chat. So I want to just give a shout out and say hi to those that we've connected with before, and excited to connect with everyone else that maybe this is our first time. So I'm always interested in how people use their skills and talents and engage in their communities and in work. I'm kind of all about the work, and work doesn't necessarily have to mean 9 to 5. It doesn't have to mean full-time, part-time, paid employment. It's the combination of activities that keep you engaged and learning across the entire life course in ways where you're using the skills and expertise that you have gathered over your years. And the origin story for me in this whole longevity journey was when I was a young manager of a large team within the technology field, and I had 135 staff. The average age on my team was 48, and the average tenure with the company that we were working at was 18 years. So I had an amazing, high-performing, awesome on all the surveys, killing it team of people that were in midlife. And I would have conversations with them as I was supposed to as a manager about what they wanted next. And I found to a person, everyone would say to me, look, Lisa, I've been here 18 years. I've had this conversation with 17 different managers. I just need ... And sometimes that was my mortgage to get paid off or my kids to finish in higher education. There was something usually financially tied that they needed to have happen. And then they said, then I'll figure out what I want to do next. But for now, I'm okay just kind of coasting in what I've been doing for the last 10, 15,
Anybody relate to that? Put a yes in
however
the
long
chat.
it's been.
Anybody doing that story in your life or throw a yes in there. That's such a great way to describe how many folks, move through our careers, was get it done. So great insight, Lisa.
Yeah, so that's where they were. And I was in my early 30s. I was a young manager, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, the amount of time that my team, who I loved, were just having to get through. Like the amount of time that they just had to wait for that milestone to happen was in some cases longer than my entire career had been at that point. And I was appalled. And I worried about what does it do to you if you're just kind of getting by waiting for the future. And so I asked my team members, okay, let's pretend that today is the day. Your mortgage is paid off, your kids have graduated, whatever it is. Now, how are you going to decide what you want to do next? And no one knew. And that was my hint that we have a really big problem in North America where we're really weak in teaching and training ourselves in career literacy and understanding who we are and what's happening in the labor market and what are the possibilities and how do I take the identity that I've had my whole career and reimagine what I could be doing next that actually fulfills me with the person that I am today, not the person I was when I was 18 and decided I wanted to go into accounting. And so now it's 45 years later and I'm still an accountant. What could I be doing today? And so that really was the starting point for me to realize that this revolution, this talent revolution that older workers are going through, if they don't get stuck, can actually transform the entire workplace and how we become better at career literacy for ourselves, for our coworkers, for our kids, for everyone around us. And so that was really the spark and origin. I quit my corporate job and launched Challenge Factory now more than 12 years ago, specifically to tackle what are the mindset challenges that prevent us from having full engagement, full productivity, and full lives integrated with work later in life.
So I love we're hearing this mindset theme, right? Tim talked about sort of even his attitude about glasses was a growth mindset. I'll raise my hand. I had a fixed mindset, but and you're talking the same thing, a sort of mindset about how we look at our experience of our careers. And I'm hearing people saying, hey, Lisa, we do this in the UK, we do this in Germany, it's not just North America. Okay, this is a thing. So thank you guys for kicking in there. So let's just kind of dial down to, individually. I know you're going to have a chance to spend a week in March in Baja and wherever somebody might be. Maybe we have folks here who are fully retired. We have folks who are launching new legacy careers. Some are starting to write books. Some are becoming coaches. Some are going full force into a new business. We've got like a whole gamut in our community, which is so rich because we learn so much from each other. We may have someone who stayed home and is now going for a big career, someone who had a huge career and burnout and wanted to go raise bees and everything in between. But tell me, how do you see mindset being kind of the key? So wherever anyone might be, what have you learned are some of the strategies that we could deploy?
Yeah, so often when people are wondering what they're going to do, and again, whether it's paid work or volunteer work or joining a board or putting out a shingle, becoming a life coach, all the possibilities, everything is on the table. So often they jump right to, well, how would I market myself with that? What would my resume look like? Or what would my LinkedIn profile look like? Or how do I describe that to someone else? And it feels hard and inauthentic and not particularly motivating. And one of the reasons for that is because you can't actually start to talk about what it is that you want to do next until you actually believe that that is a part of who you are. So the process and the way that we think about these things is to start back with who are you and who are you now? And what are all of the successes that have come with you through your journey? And how can we create a career sweet spot for you that is not a job? It's not a definite, yes, I have to do this type of role, but how do we take into account everything that you need and want from work now? All of the talents that you have, and talents are different than skills, and we can delve into what is the difference, and ease gives us a really good hint to where we're talented versus where we've learned to do something. So what do you need and want? Where do you have talents? What do you actually care about? And then the fourth component is, and where's the market? What impact do you want your work or your contribution to have in a way that someone else will recognize? Because otherwise we're setting ourselves up for great hobbies. But if we're looking for something that is more than a hobby and is actually more in the career space, we need to make sure we have some of that market awareness. And that's not easy to get. And so that's where some of the activities and engagement, the peer support that can happen at a place like MEA, where you're not going through this on your own, you're not even doing it one-on-one with a coach or with someone who's a trained career development professional, you're getting all of that, plus the peer groups that are also thinking about these things and hearing how they're struggling with identity and integrating it into their story is such a powerful way to be able to deliver on this approach and methodology that hundreds and thousands of people have now been able to go through as part of how they're going to reimagine, what do I want to do with my time? One of the last tools, I'll just give a hint to one of the last kind of tools and ways that we think about things is when you go to a financial planner, they put together a financial portfolio plan for you, and you balance risky stuff with stable stuff so that you have you can ride out the economic ups and downs, and you're valuing risk over time with your money. What we want to do is we want to help you value risk over time with your time. So which course, which path, which activity, which volunteer activity, which hobby, which work product, what is it that is the right balance between doing a couple things that scare you that are risky and a couple things that actually give you stability so that over time you're valuing your time over time.
Such a great practical stuff. I know your week is going to be popular. So thank you for that, Lisa. It's a great segue to bring you up, Barb. Hi, it's good to see you, Barb. Oh, she's getting that mute working. There we
Yep.
go.
Am I unmuted? Am I
You're
here?
unmuted. Yes.
Hi.
Great to have you. Let's just jump in from some of Lisa's reflections. You've certainly been working as a life coach with high-level executives. You've been working in the world of gerontology. You've been thinking about aging longevity for a really long time. And you wrote the Middle-Essence Manifesto to help capture this kind of period of time when there's so much possibility of life. And what I've loved about your work, Barb, is you're a very clear thinker. So you're able to take big ideas and you can bring them into like buckets that make sense and language that we can apply and make things sort of practical. So I'd love to have you just maybe reflect on what you're seeing from both Tim talking about this growth mindset, taking risks, Lisa talking about how do we reimagine where we want to spend our time, and how do we apply that to living our best life over this extra 30 years that we've been giving. So I think that's where you've been spending a lot of your time recently.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Let's hope I can be clear and crisp, because this trio, Tim, Lisa, and myself, at first glance, I thought, oh, it's interesting. We're all going to be chatting on the same call because it's so different. And now I realize, wow, the incredibly important aspects of entrepreneurial thinking, lean startups. Tim has had so many of these, and his attitude, kind of like mine, that age is a number, and you hear that all the time, but how do we use it to the benefit of all? Because aging is a wonderful thing. We all want to age, and yet we need to make it aspirational at the same time. And then Lisa coming in and talking about what I call preferment. She's giving people the tools and the pathways to understand how they continue to create careers. But after a certain point, when the major tasks of raising our families, if we are supporting a family of origin or not, extended family, friends, those major tasks are complete, where we no longer have work as the primary anchor or don't want that to use up all of our time has come up, then really what we're looking for, and the research supports this, is work that we prefer to do in the time we want to allot to it. So I call that stage preferment, because there is no such thing as retirement. People don't want to retire anymore. And that's my segue into my work, which has always been in the field of aging. Yes, since I was a child, starting at 7, being in nursing homes. Many of the people on this call probably have heard my own origin story, so I won't go through it again. But I have been in this field, in the domain of aging, since really before it was recognized. So when I went to college, Colgate University, anyone who knows of it, not a toothpaste, in 1980, the only class related to anything to do with aging, aside from child development, was the 2-career couple. That was it at the time. And so I dedicated myself and went to different universities and learned all about perceptions of the elderly, got a master's in gerontology when I was still in my 20s. And over the course, I'll fast forward, I became a coach because the CEOs and nonprofit executives I would do work with asked if I would coach them. I'm sitting here in New York. I'm here part-time, but I'm also a Californian. I've been there for 40 years. So this combination of both being process-oriented and results-oriented is a good skill or background for a coach. So I used my gerontology background to start working exclusively with what I call adults midlife and better. Wrote the Middle Essence Manifesto in 2016. And now, around the time I turned 60, a couple of years ago, I felt called to expand in a direction I wasn't sure what that would be. And I'm so excited now because it builds on everything everyone's saying on the call. Ellen Lutwack, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, talks about illness more than age are the milestones that hit us now. And that is so spot on. A number of years ago, when people were surveyed and asked, at what age are people old? The response was 60. In 2023, there was a survey asking people the same question. You know what the number is? 80. We now think that people are old around 80, and I will tell you why. The reason that is the number now is because those are right in the years where people really are starting to decline if they haven't already. And they don't need to. We don't need to. I am so excited because this next body of work, the longevity roadmap, that I'm so thrilled. Chip and I have been talking about it for quite a while. And in March, it's going to be the first time I teach it as a full week kind of workshop. Here's what we're doing. And I'm going to look at my cheat.
I want to just interject. This is a big deal. First time. Barbara's been working with Stanford. This is a significant body of work. This is the first time that you are going to teach it at MEA. So it's a really exciting debut for you.
Yes, it is. I'm thrilled about it. So we have a map to life that is outdated. You know, the old map, which those of you who've been to MEA, we live life in 3 chapters. We're allowed to live life in 3 chapters. When we're young, we learn and meet all the right people. In the middle of life, we're so busy because we've got to find the perfect mate, raise the perfect family, have the perfect career. It's a lot. That model doesn't work so well. And then the third part is you retire and sort of fall off the map, take a trip, spend time with your grandchildren, have some hobbies. That is an old map and it doesn't work. And what it yielded was pain. Pain in midlife. I did a little, and we can post it here, Connor, if you look up, or Shelby, the myth of the midlife crisis TED Talk I did. It never made sense. I won't go into how it was created. You could watch the TED Talk, but that didn't make sense. But people didn't know what to do with midlife. The 20 or 30 years that we've added to life expectancy in just the past century, about 20 of those years are an extended midlife that now is full of power and potential. It's midolescence. It's what we're all talking about. It's when Tim's saying, I've got the glasses for you and you're going to look fabulous. It's what Lisa is saying when she's saying, let's really dissect what you care about. So authentically, you know how you want to be a contribution next, right? So we now have gotten that center stage thanks to MEA and all of the good work of so many people. But what we haven't tackled yet is what happens with those other 10 or 15 years? Those years that we think, oh, I'm going to be older longer. Those are the years that typically are spent, research supports this, in decline, in diminishment. And just like I created this sort of, I don't know, ambassadorship around the world, there's now a midolescence podcast in New Zealand. The Financial Times has written about midolescence. When we change language, we change our relationship with a concept, right? So it's time to do that for that last gap of life so that we can actually prepare for those, here, wait for it, here it is, trophy years. If there is one trophy you want to go for, it is to be as engaged and powerful, maybe not physically, but we have so many other modalities. And if we know how to take care of ourselves, there's a lot of research. I am an advisor at the Stanford Center on Longevity and Lifestyle Medicine. So I have input from the greatest researchers around the world. How do we empower those years and prepare for them now? So that's a little bit about
I don't know if you will give us a little teaser, a sneak peek that
Sure.
what I do know about the longevity roadmap is that you're helping people make sense of, well, there's a lot of stuff right now. Like, should I be taking a supplement? Should I be wearing a Whoop? Should I go to a doctor? Should I get a sleep thing? Tech bros, you want to live forever. And, there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think that what you create with the roadmaps, you're kind of helping to synthesize and kind of pull together the most important things we need to focus on and why we need to focus on those things now to create the ultimate kind of wellness lifestyle down the road. So maybe you could just give us a little sneak peek before we bring up questions.
Yes. I know I could go on for a long time. I'm trying to make it succinct, but one of the reasons it's so hard came up in a Lululemon, believe it or not. They just did a study, 16,000 people from around the world. And I'm looking at my cheat sheet. 89% of the 16,000 respondents, so a statistically significant number for any of you research nerds like me. I always will give you information that is based on science and tell you when it's not. What they found out is 89% of us are experiencing well-being burnout. We are working so hard and we are so overwhelmed. There's more research on that. I won't quote all the numbers. People are feeling overwhelmed because there is contradictory information, right? Should I eat a hearty breakfast, the most important meal of the day, or should I intermittent fast, right? And more and more and more. Which wearable is the best? I translate all this research to simplify it, but here's the bottom line. We are each an experiment of one. What works for me may not work for you. We must create a roadmap that will work for each one of us so it is sustainable. So I just took myself to something called the Don't Die Summit. I don't know if any of you have heard of Brian Johnson, the guy wants to die. So I'm exposing myself to all this. And there's a whole movement around this, and people want to exist for as long as possible. Those are not the people who would want to come to my workshop, because I am not about existence. I'm about living a vital, joyful, impactful, loving, and engaged life. And it's hard to do that when you follow protocols to the extent where you're so alone, because I watched a day in the life of this guy, and some people follow him, not many. And he starts tracking all his biometrics, and he eats for the cellular experience. I eat for the relational. Well, I'm hungry also, but
right?
I'm not going to say no to a dinner at 8 p.m., even though I know I should eat by 6. When Carrie says, Barb, you're in the city, you're in New York, we're going to meet and we're going to go for dinner. No, I'm not going to say no to that. So I help people create this roadmap that has them conduct a pre-mortem. What is my box of unfulfilled life and fulfilled life today? So we make your life as clear and energized and impactful and joyful today. And then we build a bridge to your trophy years, so they can have all the qualities that you want as well. I won't go there. There are
So good.
stops on the roadmap, but I won't necessarily go through all of them here.
Thank you so much, Barb. It's so packed. So I'm going to bring all Tim and Lisa back up here. We're going to open it up to questions for all of you. If you have a comment, a question for any one of the panelists, or kind of broader discussion you want to raise together. So you will raise your hand by pushing that reactions button. And so while we're waiting, I'd love to hear just from Tim, Lisa, based on kind of the conglomerate conversations that you've heard so far, anything else that you might want to kind of pitch in of insights or aha moments, or, topics that you think are so well suited for going to a place like MEA. I just want to kind of tie this in. All 3 of these guys are teaching at our campus. You get to spend a whole week with them. You get to have dinner with them. You get to hang out with them. You get to explore. And what I love about MEA, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, is that the environment that we created as a midlife wisdom school is this combination of high-level hospitality. You're going to be fed well. You're going to sleep well. It's a beautiful place. It's an inspirational place. And we believe that having an environment to think big thoughts is important. And to have conversations, storytelling with others is so important. We don't have as much of that anymore. To hear from others who may be going through something that we're going through that we didn't realize is really important. Building friendships that become very deep, very quick at this stage of life can be such a treasure. And it creates this sort of social wellness that I believe really is where all boats begin to rise. So I'd love to hear, maybe you guys could chat a little bit about that, about what's your thoughts around kind of social wellness and the value of giving ourselves the time for reflection and for this level of exploration at this stage of our life.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in and talk about that. Often one of the things that some of the research has shown over the last couple of years is our identity and our career. I'm going to come back to work and career in the way that I respond to the question. Good, solid career development that gives you a really good foundational opportunity to explore who you are in a meaningful way actually increases mental well-being. It's why these programs are so important in our schools, and why it's so important that we have campus career centers in our higher education institutions. And then we kind of forget about it. We don't really have anywhere else that we can go to continue to do that kind of exploration. We kind of assume, well, if you figured it out this far, ask your uncle or your best friend or someone else, and you'll be able to figure this out as you continue to age. But that's not true. So I think, the connection to mental wellness in doing career exploration at any age and stage is clear. The research is clear on that. It's actually one of the most cost-effective, easiest ways to have interventions early before all kinds of other identity-related issues start to emerge. And the opportunity to do that with peer groups at this stage that gets it. I mean, that's the part when I'm leading these sessions and these workshops that people often will say, they'll say like, my friends don't get it, why I want to do this or why I'm thinking about doing this now. But in these sessions, people get it. And I'm with all these other people that are excited and engaged to do this as well. And so in addition to just the benefit of going through that kind of process, doing it in an environment with other people that get it is so empowering and exciting and such a great way to be able to get what you need while also contributing to what others may be needing from you.
Mm. Thanks, Lisa.
And go ahead,
Man,
Tim.
I got so much. I just want to talk to everybody.
Yes.
So I think it was Lisa that brought something up, and and I can't remember the context, but it reminds me of so I started to learn guitar when I was age 47, 48 years old. And then a year later formed a band and hit the road touring in a bluegrass band. Way more romantic than it actually is. Like sleeping on couches sucks. But that aside, I would get asked, the question like, oh, I can't do that. Like I'm too old to do that. And this came up so many times. Do you know how old I will be when I get good at fill in the blank? And it pissed me off so much. I would go like, my knee-jerk reaction now is yes, the same age that you would be if you did not start that. So like just start, and it's 10 minutes a day. Everyone has 10 minutes a day. Put the phone down and you'll have 10 minutes a day. So it was something that Lisa said that kind of triggered that. And then Lisa, I think it was also you that said something about my friends don't get it. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be the ones that are going to be your biggest hurdle. And
anyone agreeing with that? Like existing social circles may hold you back. Phyllis just said this, Tim, that she tries to
really?
distance herself from people who dwell on their age.
Yeah, but it's the people that are closest to you and care the most about you are going to be your biggest speed bumps because you occupy this thing in their life, and then you're telling them that that thing is changing. It's like whoa. I didn't sign up for this. Like, what do you mean you're going to be a musician? Like, what do you mean you're now going to be a entrepreneur? Like, that's not what I have in my head for you. And it's all very slight, like, oh, are you sure? Well, like, so you have to be prepared for that stuff. And there's tricks of the trade. But from both what Barbara and what Lisa were talking about, man, I made a lot of notes, and it just triggered so many discussions that I've had over the last lifetime, I guess, really.
Tim, what you're saying has everything to do with this myth of the midlife crisis. The crisis is typically for those people who feel that something in their world is changing when you make
Right.
decisions that are different. And so they say, you must be having a crisis. You want to take up guitar now? When really they're saying, what would that mean for me? So there's a lot there. So that was.
Yeah, let's do a little teachable moment here. Some of you are already putting in the chat. At MEA, we talk about transitions. And this is a transition you're all speaking about. How we think about the next stage of our life, whether deciding to play guitar, start a company, change our wellness. And when we're faced with these shifts, we have what we call it, the triple threats that are from ourselves. So our identity, for Tim to be like, oh, I'm not a guitar player. Like, I can't do that. I'm not a banjo. I'm not a bluegrass. That identity show, I'm not a musician, could be a threat that keeps Tim from making those decisions. Or spouses, some of you are putting in the chat, yeah, my spouse, it gives me a hard time whenever I say I want to do, because they're sort of threatening that we're going to become something different. Our friends, our inner circle. Oh, you've never been an athlete? What do you mean? You're going to train for a 5K? That's hilarious. Ha ha ha. Good luck. Right? Threatening. And then that may be like, oh yeah, you're right. I probably shouldn't do that. or society itself. What do you mean you're starting a company at 71? What? That's crazy. You shouldn't spend all your retirement money that no one's. So those are there. And one of the most interesting things about this work is just awareness. To just raise the awareness that that is there and that is common and that is normal can help us kind of get some space from it and not be so attached to it or driven by it. So you can, as Tim said, put those thoughts down and just jump forward, just jump in. So hands, no hands. Where are my hands, people? Somebody raise your hand and get up here and ask a question, make a
figure out
comment while we're
hands.
chatting.
How do you do hands? I'm such an emoji fan and I
Oh
couldn't figure
man,
it
you
out.
click on the reactions button and you do this. There's this
Oh,
thing,
there it
raise
is.
your hand. There we go. Tim's doing the whole thing. So let's just chat a little bit more about that. So that triple threats idea, have you guys have any personal stories of what you've seen or how that, have you been able to break through that?
What I think is so interesting about that is it does come back to identity, and you can handle the triple threats better when you have a solid sense of who you are and why you're doing what you want to do. And without those answers, then you're kind of floating in the wind, right? A friend will say something to you, or society will kind of give you a not so subtle cue that this isn't something that you should be focused on. And so when you feel yourself shifting around like that and you have all these objections coming your way, one of the things that I find is so powerful is just to sit down and to go back to one of the 4 areas that we're going to explore in the workshop. And that is, what's the need? Like, what is the underlying need that you are reacting to? Like, I need people to get this, or I need to find someone else to talk to about this, or I need to recognize my partner is never going to be my first champion, but they will be my best champion when I can figure this out. Or I need a different way to think about who I've been my whole life, but I'm still me. Like I think that's the part that through these transitions often doesn't get enough discussion, that you could have been an accountant and now you're a bluegrass musician, or you've started a business, but you used to be a teacher. All of these transitions may feel like they're random or like you're leaping from one thing to another, but the common factor is you're still you. And the things that made you you, that keep you vibrant, that make you happy, that keep you successful, it's realizing what are those common threads. And I loved when Tim said that he's like a collector of dots and he can figure out which dots are more important than the others. That's the thing that we need to do. But with you, what are all of your dots and which of those dots do you want to take forward? Even if they get reconfigured into something that is totally different than how they used to look before. The dots are the same. And so it's really, there is continuity here, even if it seems like your story is something totally radical and different.
All right, so before I bring up Sarah and Barb, before you jump in, I want to ask everybody a question put in the chat. What is one thing that you would love to do in 2025 that's new? What's a little glimmer? What's something you want to lean into? What's something you want to try? What's something that's kind of catching your eye? Be brave, and let's see what we got. Oh, Ming wants to do belly dancing. Okay, Barb, quick, and then I'm going to bring up Sarah.
Really quickly, just building on that, the triple threat, the basis doesn't change, and that is self-awareness. But the self-awareness to know that we actually can change ourselves. So whereas I wasn't interested in gardening and it wasn't a dot that I had at all, and then for some reason, when I was around 50, I just became an avid gardener. And now it's so much. So we don't have to have dots that necessarily came from our childhood. We can grow and change because the world is changing so much. We're exposed to new ideas. So we are free. And that's what's so hard for other people. You've never been like this. The hardest thing is slowing down enough. And that's one of the beauties of these workshops, to back in touch with our deepest selves. And then the other part I'll say is there is strong research behind the power of weak connections. So when you have a new idea, the best people may not be those in your closest network. But if you met one of us, if you met someone at a workshop, reaching out to those connections that aren't the longest in your life or the deepest and saying, what do you think of this? And people are more likely to help support that idea than those closest to you.
100%. Hence, at Emmy, I'm going to pull up Sarah now. We have an alumni department of 6,000 people and 50 plus chapters for those third tier to connect. So I love what's going in this chat right now, starting an ice cream brand, tango dancing, all kinds of cool stuff. This is a great place to support each other in being brave. Hey, Sarah, welcome. Good to see you
Hi,
here.
Carrie. Hi, thank you. Well, as I'm watching this, I think, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that too. Oh, I want to do that. So this is driving me nuts because as somebody who is interested in almost everything, I'm going to stop looking at it because anyway, for somebody who I am way past what is thought of as midlife. So for any of us on who are listening right now who are older than midlife, I'm still working 5 days a week in support of older women. That's my whole focus. And one of the things that happens all the time to me is, Sarah, when are you going to retire? So I know those of us on right now who are older hear that all the time. And when I say I don't want to retire, I want to keep doing. I love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about it. People look at me just like, this woman must be losing it because they just don't understand how at my age I could still be working 5-6 days a week. But for anybody out there who's beyond midlife, keep going. Forget what they say. When they want you to retire, just explain you don't want to. And if they look at you like you're crazy, agree that you're crazy and get on with it.
There we go. Do you see that congruence there with Sarah? Thank you for being a role model. Love that. Appreciate you. Let me bring up Judy real quick. I want to get all these in before we run out of time. So everybody has like 1 minute.
Okay,
Hey,
so
Judy.
thank you. I was wondering for Lisa, a question about identity and following who you are. How do your values and your sense of purpose enter into that? Because I haven't heard anybody really talk about your living your values and your sense of purpose with identity.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It's a really important question. Your values are actually right at the core. So of how you start to figure this out. And those are things that do change over time, but also carry you through. So Challenge Factory is a B corporation. As an organization, we have values at our core. And when you're exploring, I mentioned 4 different domains to explore: needs, talents, impact, or market. What do you care about? Care about or passion is also a proxy for values. So it's in that part of the exploration where we actually do get into values and a little bit of challenge in that too. What do you mean by that value? How far were you willing to go for that value? Like to do a little bit of exploring beyond just the usual surface. Let me list a couple of things that really matter to me. Let's dive in and make sure that, you really, really deeply understand why is that at your core, and then how do you bring that forward into your work?
Great, thank you.
Parr, you want to jump in quick? Do it.
I'll just sum in really quickly. Part of the roadmap, as I mentioned, I didn't get through the 7 pit stops, is using values as drivers. Values are behaviors. So we not only collect them to have them on paper, but actually measure, how will I know I'm actually living this value? So we get really clear, because that's how people show up and you know what they stand for.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think of people that say a value is creativity. And so really like learning to play a musical instrument can be creativity. Writing, all of those things, but people don't necessarily make that connection.
Exactly.
With the value.
Well done. Thank you, Judy. Love that. Juliet, come on up. You are on mute, my dear friend.
Okay, here I am. Hi, I do executive coaching for soon to be retired or newly retired individuals. And I find that the transition is hardest for people who've had a very high level in their career people with either big titles or big salaries, big jobs. And so they are less patient about taking the time around finding out what's next. And I also find there are subtle differences or nuances between men and women who are exploring what's next. Can you speak to that a little bit? What does your research show?
Yeah, maybe Tim too, if you've got any reflections on that as well. Do you see any difference in women versus men, or kind of how to shift gears and be willing to pick up something new?
Yes. I mean, with the fact there's almost three different questions here. Like you have the CEO thing. That's, you pull that shade down and that's just ego, right? So that's something that can be handled completely separately. But the thing that I really like that you touched on is the time component. And it's something I talk about when people are starting businesses. We have to get rid of time almost completely. Like we can't say like, okay, on this date, we're going to have this, on this date, we're going to have that, on this date, we're going to do this, because the gestation of ideas doesn't work that way. We are not in control of the things that we put into the world. We simply put them out into the world. The world has a certain timetable that it operates on, and we have to adjust to that. So it's a huge subject that I love to dive into. It's complex, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Just quickly, Lisa, then I'm going to grab Lynn.
Yeah, so really quick, 2 things. First of all, it's wildly uncomfortable when the only way you can introduce yourself is in the past tense. And that's especially true for people who have had big titles. So if you can only say, I used to be the CEO of, as opposed to who you are now or where you're going, it doesn't feel good. And so that forces you to find a new way that may not be the best way, but to give yourself a new introduction. And then men versus women, what we also find in terms of work and careers is if you've had children, if you're a woman and you've had children, you've had the identity shift where you've moved from being a working person to someone on leave, especially Canada has 18-month maternity leaves. You're away from work for a long time. Men don't have that practice opportunity earlier in their careers to shift their identity. And even though it's painful for women when that identity shift happens, it's one of the reasons why the approach for men needs to be more experimental. So those are some of the things our research has found.
Thank you, Len. You get the last word, my friend.
Last word. Okay, thanks. So this is about the connection of growth or growth mindset, and it may apply to Barbara or Tim more, but and that is the connection of longevity and living in the flow cycle, not just flow, but the flow cycle, the 4, because flow is just one step, but the capacity to live in the flow cycle and its connection to health, wellness, longevity.
Yes. You know what, Len? I'm going to take that one since we have 1 minute left. Come to MEA, my friend. Then you will get in that flow. Take an online course
Sounds
with
like I
MEA.
connected.
Get in the flow. Meet really interesting people. Say yes to a powerful growth mindset environment to learn. And I just want to thank the 3 of you. Could we not talk for another hour? Easily. What talent. Thank you for the contributions you're all bringing into this important industry to be in service to all of us. We're so grateful. And thank you all for being here today. The recording of this call will be made available for you by email, and you also will be able to see it in our website under Free Wisdom. If you want to learn more about MEA, you can book a call. Somebody throw that chat in there. You can book a call and you get to talk to a person. You don't talk to an AI chatbot. You talk to an actual person who will talk to you about your life and what you're interested in, help you match up with what may be a fit for you. And I hope to see you again at other events down the road. And with that, I'm going to give you a little more lovely day for our dance party. And thank you again for coming, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lisa. Thank